Okay, so this is part 2 of sexual manipulation, okay? Now, when we wrapped up in part 1, we finished talking about all these concepts, okay? And we were kind of talking about how that men view the concept of having many partners as natural. And that women, certainly in other cultures, but it happens here in the United States as well, where women will maybe take pride in being like the child's bearer and raiser and allow the men their dalliances and their mistresses. Of course, holding rage at them the entire time, but also holding an air of superiority about that, okay? And it's weird to think about that, right? Because if you were really in a soul-based relationship, that when two partners create and start raising a child, that you would think that their love for each other would grow stronger over time, right? Like, how wonderful that you have, you've created these bodies that this new human can incarnate into and experience life. That doesn't seem to happen too often, from my perspective. Okay. Now, what does this all look like? Okay? So, as I've mentioned before, the amount of emotional errors from the creator's perspective in your soul will correspond to these vortices or blockages of energy in your spirit body, which will then, you will create spiritual cords, if you like, with another person that's got sympathetic injuries, okay? So, let's say you've got a gentleman here, a fella, a guy, okay? And he's got all these false beliefs in his soul, right? Maybe he believes that he's got to run the world. He wants to rule the world, He's going to connect with a woman that wants a powerful man. Right? What if he comes from a cultural background, right? And he's always been instructed by his parents that he needs to marry a woman of the same ethnicity. Maybe he attracts this woman. Maybe his mother had dark hair, so he likes a woman with dark hair as well. Do you see? On and on it goes. So when you get into a relationship with someone, what's really happening is you have entered into a codependent partnership, relationship, with a person who's willing to fulfill the most amounts of your emotional addictions or emotional errors, and that you will likely fulfill from their perspective as well, right? Now, some people know about this, and others don't. Nobody formally taught me about this, but there's various kinds of ways in which humans allow themselves to be manipulated because of sex. Okay? I think now is a good time to bring up a different concept, but that is important to tie in with this. These emotional injuries, these soul-based emotional injuries, okay? That you might be sitting there saying, so what? I've got these injuries, you know, I'm with my partner, we get along great. I have no reason to mess with myself. Why would I mess with myself? Things are going great. Well, it's these emotional injuries that allow spirit persons to hook into you and manipulate your behavior in various ways for various reasons. When this is going to sound wild, this is going to sound crazy, okay? But when you're having sex with somebody, if it's not your soulmate, there are other spirits participating. Yeah. How's that one feel? Yeah. So, like, for example, like, these could all be, like, maybe this person here is an actual physical person, and you're a physical person. And maybe you're actually having intercourse with this person, but spirits could be hooking into you and changing your perception of the sexual event. So it's like, hey, you ever, like, maybe you're with you're intimate with a person, and hey, you really don't have a whole lot mentally in common, but wow, is it wild? It's all bottom chakra stuff. It's all bottom chakra stuff. And these spirit people are getting in on it. Okay? So, like, going back to the example, okay, so let's say these two people are in a relationship, right? Well, maybe, you know, like there's different connections when these people aren't around. But when they come back in the picture, it's like, oh, I feel a real strong connection to this person. You know, maybe this is another physical person, let's say, in this situation. So your wife's friend walks in the room, and now you actually have a stronger emotional error-based connection in a certain area than your wife. And again, you interpret that as sexual attraction. Okay? But it's really sexual manipulation. Now, I enjoy bringing this topic up to men especially because I have a lot of anger at my Earth Father for not recognizing this. Okay? Because I feel that he allowed his partner, after my Earth Mother died, to treat me poorly without defending the truth. Because he had emotional injuries that were very strongly connected to her sexually. And she could easily say, I'm not going to have sex with you. And that's all it would take for him to more or less do whatever she wanted. Now, we all act like nothing can be done about our sexual attraction. It's not true. It can be altered, changed. And this is part of the fun This is part of the experimentation, right? This is where you start feeling out your emotions, and you will feel differently. You will, same people in your life, you'll have different feelings towards them. People you were attracted to, you're no longer attracted to them. People you weren't attracted to, maybe now you are. Because part of it is, so like if you start healing these various emotional injuries, now all of a sudden, nobody can hook into you. And maybe you find out that your partner isn't really your mate. But now you can make clear-hearted decisions going forward in life, because you're not going to fall under sexual manipulation anytime someone shows you some emotional gratification or approval. Okay, so none of this stuff is compartmentalized. So when you start working through your emotions in any area, this will change. Your sexual attraction will change. When you start having grief, when you start releasing grief and sadness. Okay? So, how does this progression go? Okay? Let's even take my example of just me being angry at my father for this, right? Okay? So, I used to be in apathy, okay? Because when I was younger, I would explain away his not defending the truth with his partner in regards to her actions towards me, because I knew that I was going to move out of the house and have my own life, okay? And if this was the partner that he wanted, then so be it, okay? And like, you know, some considered her physically attractive, although I myself did not. But, you know, from my Earth Father's perspective, he felt like she was of high quality stock or whatever, some, you know, whatever. So, I was in apathy because I was explaining away his behavior, okay? Really, I needed to admit the truth to myself and start feeling my rage at him for allowing this woman's non-loving treatment of me, okay? Which is connected to this and not understanding how this works, okay? Now, of course, it's my addiction that my Earth Father would know anything about anything, right? You know, we can't have any expectations for anybody. Any expectation is non-loving, okay? Also, no one else really knows about this stuff either. So, you know, again, I'm explaining it away. I haven't felt it out yet, okay? I still have the rage in there because it's also tied up into some other things as well. But it's my addiction that he would know and that he would teach me this stuff, okay? Which is obviously covering up terror, okay? The terror is covering up my grief of not feeling loved in this particular area, okay? That's what I'm talking about when I say when you work through these emotions and you start feeling out your grief, you'll start to receive God's love. And it will feel awesome. It will feel like it will feel. Okay? And you'll know it's real. There will be no mistaking it. Okay? Remember, the test is you can just lay in bed sincerely and just ask the Creator if she has love for you, then may I feel it and see what happens. Okay, so as you start working through yourself, your errors heal, which means the spectrum of people that you're sexually attracted to narrows until you only have sexual attraction for your soulmate, okay? That's what this is partly about. As we grow closer to God, we learn the truth from God's view about what's going on down here, okay? God recognizes that we have a soulmate. However, we're not attracted to our soulmate mostly because of these emotional injuries that I just erased, okay? This is part of the design for us to work through this stuff. You can think of it as like a giant puzzle. It's the greatest puzzle that has ever been created, okay? And we're to live in it. So, like, your mate is out there, but they have emotional injuries in their soul just like you do, okay? So, I'm not guaranteeing that you will even know who your soulmate is. Although, if you're doing this for a while, you're going to know who it is. But that doesn't mean that you'll be in a relationship with them. And actually, if you do get into a relationship with them, it will absolutely be the most challenging relationship you've ever had, okay? But why would you want to do that? Because that's how you grow in love. Because you build passion and desire for your mate, okay? Now, why is it going to be hard? What's going to be difficult about it? Well, let's say your soulmate's in error. Let's say that you're a man and your soulmate is a female and she is in error, okay? And you feel the need to defend truth. And she says to you, I want to be with you. Okay. You got to be prepared to honor that. And that could mean maybe being celibate, right? But if that's the case, you'll know you'll have worked through all your stuff. You keep working through your stuff, you're going to attract your soulmate back into your life, okay? That's how the Creator designed it. Because again, if we're following the Creator's principles and we're feeling God's love and all this other stuff is true, then that's true as well. It just hasn't been proven to us yet. We have not confirmed it in our soul yet. But we can build faith every time we find one of these principles to be true, okay? Every time we release grief in our soul, literally the composition of our soul changes, okay? I feel that if men and women both know about this, it's just gonna... This can't hurt, okay? Again, experiment for free, on your own. All you need to do is have humility, which is own and feel out all of your own emotions, and then the desire to feel the Creator's truth. And that will open you up to receiving God's love. Okay. I think I've said enough on this topic for now. This is another one. Like, have fun with this. Experiment. Or, if you can't experiment, ask yourself why. Because, like, let's say you're with a partner. If you show her this material, or him, then they could try it too. Pretty neato. Okay. So to wrap up, this is another aspect of taking responsibility for ourselves, okay? When we recognize this stuff is going on in our soul, and by the way, this stuff also affects like the spirit world and all that kind of stuff, okay? So like if you're getting sexually manipulated in the spirit world as well, doing this work will alleviate that. It'll go away. You'll have better sleep state experiences, okay? All right. I think that's all for now. Love and peace, friends.